Hello. Today I want to talk about brainstorming. Brainstorming is a word that gets used in all sorts of different ways, but what I want to do today is deal with ways of structuring brainstorming to be most effective. This is based largely on the work of IDEO, a design consultancy in California and Boston and elsewhere, who use brainstorming, structured brainstorming, as a regular part of their design activities. One of the fundamentals about brainstorming is that it's a technique to generate a lot of ideas. The idea being that if you've got a lot of ideas, then you select down and evaluate them and find some good ones amongst the array. This is a quote from Linus Pauling, who kind of knew what he was talking about because he won the Nobel Prize for Chemistry. Now, brainstorming as defined by IDEO and as practiced by them is essentially a collaborative activity. It's not something that people do on their own. It's something that's done by a team of people gathered together in a reasonably conducive environment for a period of time and following a sequence of events that everybody knows about. The sequence of events, process, I'll go through in a second to talk about different things at different stages of the process. So the first part of setting up a structured brainstorming process is to aim for a set time for the session as a whole, and a set time for the first phase of the session as well. The first phase of the session is aimed at generating the maximum number of ideas. Once you've generated the maximum number of ideas, and I'll cover later some of the techniques for ensuring that, you go through a stage of categorizing them and grouping them to look at what they're like, what the connection between those ideas is, and that forms the basis for doing a second brainstorming session after you've reflected on those groups. So phase one, generate a lot of ideas, categorize them, see if the categorizations throw up other possibilities, and then look again, start a session again to reframe the focus for the session and go again. And the final stage is to evaluate what you've got. Now, it's important that the evaluation process is left until the end, because evaluation while you're actually trying to generate ideas is not helpful in the process of generating as many as possible. I'll talk a little bit about that later on. IDEO have put together 7 secrets for successful brainstorming, which we'll go through in turn to look at the ways in which those work as far as the process goes. The first one before you start the session is to do a little bit of warming up. If we're doing a physical activity, we'd warm up our bodies. If we're going to do a mental activity, it's helpful to warm up your mind. So what they would do in this case is set up a kind of related exercise, maybe just something that runs for 10 minutes just to get people talking to each other and just to get the atmosphere in the room kind of warmed up a bit. And the second important thing is to define the focus for the brainstorming activity. It's not just casting around wildly for ideas. I mean, wild ideas we'll come to in a second are important, but the whole thing should be aimed at a particular kind of objective, which everybody knows in the first place. So define the focus for the activity as part of your starting process. Second thing is to number each idea. The common process that IDEO use is that in a group, when you've come up with an idea, you speak it out, you write it on a post-it note, and you post it on the wall. And one of the things they encourage people to do is to number the ideas and go for the maximum quantity, but also set a target, saying this session we're actually planning to produce at least 100 ideas within the hour or so that we've got available. So number your ideas, go for quality, go for quantity. Other groups don't use post-it notes, but they depend on writing things on big sheets of paper or blackboards or whiteboards and so on. It doesn't really matter. Try whichever technique works appropriately for you as a group. The important thing is about encouraging wild ideas. And this is done by specifically encouraging people to come up with wild ideas, but also by suspending judgment about those ideas so that the process of generating ideas, the flow, generating a flow of ideas, is not inhibited by any negative impressions. So this means that it also means not inhibited by any positive impressions either. So everybody at the initial idea generating stage of the process should be neutral to the ideas that come up, neutral in language and neutral also in body language. So no positive reactions, no negative reactions, no gasping, moaning, slapping the forehead and all that stuff. Anything which constitutes judgment at that stage is not really helpful. You need that later on, but not in the initial stages. Another thing they do is to encourage people to get visual, to not just confine yourself to generating ideas and described in terms of words, but drawings, diagrams, sketches, other sorts of manifestation are helpful to promote the flow of ideas. And one important convention is just to have one conversation at a time, so that whoever is talking, they're not being interrupted, they get the opportunity to say what they want to do. But you should keep things moving fairly quickly within the group. We don't want people monopolizing the conversation for 5 minutes or whatever. So you keep going around the group, but encourage people to contribute by not interrupting them. So, enjoy. And here's some suggestions for further reading by the principals of IDEO about the innovation process, brainstorming, and other parts of their activities. Thank you.